The other day I was going through the comments and I saw a comment that was made by one of our subscribers, Ghost, and he sent me a link to a YouTube channel called Active Self Protection and suggested that I do something similar to that channel. So I wanted to review this channel to see whether or not I believe, just my personal opinion, whether I believe this is a good YouTube channel to follow if you want to learn critical self-defense strategies in your job as a private security officer. And I also wanted to review John Correia. He's the Active Self-Protection host. I want to review his credentials as well. And I want to talk about establishing the standards and how I probably wouldn't engage in too much commentary on a lot of these self-defense videos, but I'll talk a little bit about that. So let's talk about active self-protection. I just pulled up and I'm looking below the screen here. I have my computer. You can't really see it. There you go. This is the top of the monitor here. I'm looking at it right now and I'm reading you off John Correia's qualifications. So he's a 96-hour master's degree in a communications field. I'm not sure what 96 hours means, but he has a master's degree in communications. That's probably why he speaks so articulate in his videos. He has 9 years classroom experience teaching both undergraduate and graduate students. Again, that's why he's able to teach his students so well. He has an honorable discharge from the U.S. Navy, and it looks like he was electronics nuclear technician, first class E6. And he narrated defense encounters used by multiple law enforcement agencies and academies, military law enforcement posts, and hundreds of firearm and combative trainers around the world. And he has trained under and obtained some training and skills by the following instructors. Now he lists, it looks like about 25 instructors. These instructors are top notch. There's Bill Lewinsky, there's Alexis Ardwal, John Chapman, Masab Ayub, Scott Jedlinski, and Dr. William April. There's so many others to list here, but if you're in the firearms industry, if you're a firearms training industry, these names should be very familiar to you. I am impressed by John's experience. By his training. As for his experiences, it makes me wonder how he's able to narrate these videos for law enforcement organizations. Now, this is. Oh, by the way, before we move on, he has some other qualifications. By the way, he went to Gunsight Academy. He has numerous firearms instructor certifications. I mean, it looks like he's been to over 1,000 hours of firearms training. His firearms training humbles me. He even went to the not the Firearms Institute, the Force Science Institute, and he's a certified force science analyst. His experience, I keep saying experience. What I mean to say is qualifications, training. Okay, his training humbles my training. He has so much. Okay, so I'm a little bit suspicious, maybe confused on how he's able to narrate his videos so well if he doesn't have any law enforcement experience and private security experience. Now, he might have law enforcement or he might have private security experience. He doesn't disclose that in his bio. Typically, if you have that experience, you typically disclose that in the bio. He does say that he's a armed guard instructor. Typically, you need to have some type of private security experience to train Arizona guards for their firearms permit. So it's that experience is lacking on, at least on his bio. As for military experience, you can generally assume self-defense experience if if you were in the military and maybe you performed some type of sentry duties, infantry, military police, but that experience is not here in his bio. He was it was sorry, give me a second here. He was in the military for the nuclear technician. Okay, that was his MOS. Some jobs that There's some jobs that you can assume that you have a significant experience in real world self defense encounters, private security, and then law enforcement. Your typical law enforcement officer has a significant exposure when it comes down to self defense encounters. Okay, under a lot of stress, and that experience isn't here. Well, at least in his bio, but from all of his training, the next question is, can you narrate videos the way he does? And I believe you can. I think he does a really good and accurate job narrating his videos, but something that is a little bit bothersome to me is very lately, and I'm talking about within the past year, John has been, in my opinion, just because I'm in law enforcement, overreaching his opinion on police use of force encounters. And you can tell he doesn't have experience in that field. You can tell he has a lot of book knowledge. It looked like a lot of the training that he went to did translate to some maybe real world skills. But I just don't like the fact that he's making, I want to say, bold opinions on law enforcement use of force incidents. So, for example, the last incident was, I think it was Fresno. There was an officer-involved shooting. The suspect claimed to have a gun on him, and I think he was going to kill law enforcement or something to that effect. He ended up running away from the law enforcement officer, and the officer, as a result of this person not following orders and fleeing, the officer shot and killed this person. Okay, and in John's video, he said that this is an unethical decision. But something that a little bit bothersome to me is I'm not too sure that John has been in a self-defense encounter as a law enforcement officer. Well, he hasn't, because he hasn't been a law enforcement officer. But as you know, even as a lethal force encounter, now you don't have to be involved in a lethal force encounter to talk about it. It does help with credibility, but if you haven't been in some of these encounters, your narration of an event could be totally distorted. Okay, so in that video, it shows the suspect putting his hands up, and then within maybe a second or so, the officer firing at him when he has his hands up. What John fails to take into account is that there's a time lapse of about maybe a second and a half or 2 seconds. Okay, he fails to take into account that there's many things that you have to do during a use of force encounter that happens in a matter of split seconds. Okay, I have before me a SIG 226. I'm going to make sure that the gun is safe. There is nothing in the magazine well. There's no magazine. Visually and physically checking. Make sure that there's nothing in the chamber. Okay. So this is a SIG 226. When you're faced with a lethal force encounter, there are 3 focal planes that your gun handlers, those of you that learn to shoot, there's 3 focal planes that you must concentrate on when there's a threat. 3, okay? Number 1, there's the front sight, okay? That's one of the planes. You must align the front sight into the rear sight notch. Now your rear sight's going to be blurry, and that's another focal plane, is your rear sight, okay? Front sight has to be in the notch of the rear sight, lined up, equal height, equal light. And then you have to focus on the actual target. That's your third plane. Three things. So somebody's about to kill you. There are those three focal planes that you have to concentrate on. Obviously, in the way it works in real life, and again, I'm not sure if John has been in a real life deadly encounter or encounter where you have to de-escalate force. You're at the very least, focusing on the target, on the threat. That's your number one focus. Should it be your number one focus? Well, no, you should focus on the front sight, but because the event is scary and the threat is right there, probably in front of you, you're bound to focus on that person. But anyhow, you got to focus on the person. You're superposing the front sight to whatever body part you want to hit, at least two. And then if you want more accuracy, you're gonna line the front sight to the rear sight. So that's three things. And then you also have to take into account whether or not this is going to be a lethal use of force. I'm sorry, a legal use of force. So you're wondering, okay, is this going to be legal? And then you also have to decide, well, can I do this? Can I take this person's life? There's a lot of things that you have to take into account, and you only have a matter of seconds. So that is why when an officer shoots somebody, even when their hands are going up or they're moving up just like this, you have to take into account that 1.5 to 2 second delay. Again, I don't think John has been in such encounter. I would think perhaps with all of that training that he received, he would at least acknowledge that in his video. So that's the criticism that I have. On another note, a more positive note, when you consider all of the knowledge that he has to bring to the table, the way he narrates these self-defense videos, I do think that there is more positive that comes out of his videos than negative. Now, I'm being highly critical on his videos, okay? Something else that we need to discuss is that John has over 5 million subscribers. What he says, a lot of people put a lot of weight. The problem that I also see is that when a jury watches his videos, and trust me, I'm sure that when there's a criminal trial, civil trial, there are some people on the jury that might look up the incident on perhaps YouTube, because John narrates so many videos, and some haven't been litigated as far as I know. The jury might watch his videos and impute his opinion into the current situation, into the current case. The jury's not supposed to do that, but by nature, they do. Okay, that's a give me. John, he gives overreaching opinions when there's a law enforcement officer involved, and my concern is he's creating a standard. He's establishing what the standards are, and any breach of those standards are either negligence or criminal culpability. You could take what you need from this fact. I definitely think it's a fact. I don't know what you guys think. In the comments below, please let me know. Do you think that when John is narrating these videos, when it's law enforcement related, he's establishing a standard? Do you think that the jury watches his videos, or do you think that they don't watch his videos at all, or they don't do their own research? Okay, I think John needs to at least put a disclaimer in the videos, at least in the beginning, what his experiences are, or at least in the description, if not in the actual video, and say that at least that his opinion is not a professional opinion, and he's only considering the facts as he sees them. I think that's fair for everybody. What does the law enforcement discussion have to do with security? Well, the general public often looks at law enforcement as a private security standard as well. And that's just because standards relating to law enforcement are a lot more easier to look up. You can go on YouTube, you can go Google the information, and law enforcement standards pop up very easily. Compared to security standards, you got to really hunt for that information. So when we establish law enforcement standards in an opinionated video, we're also establishing to more or less a degree, and maybe that's a high degree, of security, private security standards as well. I highly recommend that you still subscribe to Active Self-Protection's YouTube channel. I think that there is a lot more pros than cons. I'm just being highly critical of John and the videos because I just don't want the public to use his videos as a standard. And that's it. So hopefully I'm fair of my criticism, and you keep using his videos as a way to help you preserve life better. I think there's still so much great information that comes out of his channel. You guys, do not discount his channel at all. He usually provides 1 to 2 videos a day, and a lot of the content I think could save your life and the life of loved ones. Now, as of me narrating videos, kind of like how John does, that's outside of my time frame. I don't have a lot of time to narrate those videos. John takes a lot of time off of his hands to narrate these videos. There's research involved, believe it or not. He's very well spoken, and his thoughts are articulate. But he does his research before he narrates these videos. And the issue is that you can only give your opinion so much, and it's usually based on your training, experiences, and perceptions. And if you don't have certain experiences, your opinion is going to be a lot limited. Okay, and to be on the fair side also, how are you going to get some of these experiences? I mean, it's hard. It'd be just awkward to want to get robbed, to have somebody pull a gun on you so that you can narrate a video. It just, I mean, come on, it just doesn't make sense. But anyhow, let me know what you guys think about this video. Let me know what other videos you'd like to see. Am I being too hard on my criticisms? What do you guys think? Is there other channels that you guys follow? I really would like to know. You guys be safe out there.